right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I did set the recorder so you guys can have this for future reference. I'm going to go ahead and log into our demo account that we have here. And today we're going to be just reviewing transaction management. So when you first log into your account, to get to the transactions sections, everything's going to be located under this transactions dropdown. All transactions are actually going to be started with a template. So in order to start creating transactions, you have to first have a template. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here to the templates page.
You want to come over here?
Welcome if you're just joining us now. My name is Allie. I'll be your instructor. So we did just start. So if you just joined us, you really haven't missed much, but all transactions I was saying are going to start with a template. So we came over here to the templates page. From here, you'll notice that we do have some default templates listed. Now, you can take a look at each one of these just by clicking on the preview button that's over here to the right. So we're going to go ahead and just click on one of these so that we can take a look at the different sections that a template is going to have. So in a template, you're going to have several different sections. You're going to have the contact and property information in this top section. You're going to have a section for your critical dates. These are the most important dates. A section to keep track of any other important fields. And then, of course, you're going to have a list of the different tasks that need to be completed in that transaction. And then down below, you're going to have a section to keep track of all your important contacts. So these are going to be things like your vendors. Now, we do have a template created for each type of transaction here.
What's that noise? Is somebody else coming on?
Yeah. Yeah, so whenever you hear that, it's just somebody joining us with the sound. So from here, we do have several different templates. I do recommend that you start off with one of our templates and then customize it from there. That's going to be a lot easier for your team to work with one that's already existing than it is to create one from scratch. However, you can also create one from complete scratch in the system. It's going to be a little bit easier to kind of work with what we have and maybe just change the names or add and remove different fields to the different sections. So the first step that you would do is to click to add this template. You're going to have one template for each type of transaction. So we're going to have, for example, one buyer template, perhaps one seller template, and then one template if you have a different type of transaction that you work with. I recommend that the name of the template you keep as the type of the template so that way you can easily identify that this template is specifically used for your buyer transactions. And then from here you would click the Save button, and then it's actually going to be added to your list of templates. Since we already have one in here, I'm not going to save this one. I'm just going to come back over here to my templates page. All the templates that you do save are going to be listed in this existing template dropdown. You can also view them by clicking this plus sign here and expand this out. This is going to be a list of all the templates that you have saved. Because this is our test account, we do have a little bit more in here, but like I said, you're going to really only need one template for each type of transaction. So from here, if you wanted to change the templates so that you can customize them based on your guys' needs, we can select the template here, and then we can click the Go button. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be given this rainbow of colors. So this is each section that we were looking at before. We had a date section, important fields, tasks, contacts, things like that. Each section you can edit just by clicking this Edit button down here, and this here will give you a brief description of what each section means. So this one over here is the critical dates section. These are the most important dates in the entire transaction. All the tasks are going to be, the due dates for the tasks are going to be based off of these critical dates. So we do have some default ones listed here. However, if you wanted to change the name or even add some, you can do that from this page. So if you wanted to edit one that we already have, you can do that here. And then you have some other options here. So you can say, yes, I want it to show on the checklist. Yes, it's required, or no. You can also say that you want it to show on your calendar. So you can also choose to have these dates appear on that calendar that you see when you first log into your account. and then you would just save your changes. From here, you could even delete one of the fields that we've added, or you can even change the order that it's going to appear just by using these up and down arrows. We also give you some options of some other real estate dates in here, so you can choose to add some other dates, and then just click continue here, and then they would appear on this page. To add a whole brand new one, you would just click this add new dates button, and then just fill in what you want this critical date to be called, and then select your other options here, and then just save your changes, and then you'll notice that it does appear here. And then you can move on to the next section. So you're going to want to really customize this whole entire template first before we create an actual transaction. So now we're on the important fields section. So we do have the, these are the ones that we had set up on the template that we do offer you. Of course, you can add some more manually. These are the only ones that we actually have selected for some extra ones in here. Same thing as the other page. You can edit here, you can delete, or you can change the order, and you can even add a new field here. And this is just the name of the field, and that's all it's going to be. So once you make your changes, you can click Save here, and you'll notice that it does appear. And then we would move on to the next section. Now this is going to be the section that requires your the most work, because you really want to tell the system when everything is going to be due. So this one's going to take probably the most time, but this is where you get to add all the different tasks that you're going to use or that you're going to need. So you'll notice that with the template that we offer, we already have a lot of different tasks that we've entered in here. However, you know, depending on where you're coming from, what part of the state, what state you're in, these may change. So that's why we make them completely customizable. So same as the other pages, you can edit, delete, or change the order. You can even add a brand new one. So let me kind of show you how this works. We're gonna just imagine that we're gonna edit one of these tasks here that we already have. So we're gonna click the edit button here. And then from here, you can change the name. So maybe you have a little bit of a different verbiage that you use for this specific task. You can change it to whatever it is that you need. Say that if you want it to show or not on the checklist. What order do you want it to appear in? You could even break the tasks up into different subheadings or different sections. But this right here is going to be the most important part. For each individual task, you're going to want to set a due date. Now you can manually change this date later if you do have a set date, but you still have to tell the system when to calculate when this specific task that you're entering in or editing will be due. So you're going to say that this task, I want to be due a certain number of days, either before or after one of your critical dates. And then from here, you can either manually type in a label. So because this one's due 0 days before contract date, that means it needs to be done as soon as possible. So you can enter the word or the letters ASAP, or you can choose auto label. Auto label will just basically kind of break down these things that you chose here. So 0 days before contract date. Down here, if you want, you can select to have it show on your task list. Your task list is actually on your home page. So when you're viewing your home page, you have your calendar right in front of you, and then below that you have a task list. All the tasks that need to be completed for a transaction will appear or can appear if you choose yes on the task list itself. And then you would just click save if you're editing one of ours. However, the same thing is going to go if you're adding a brand new task. So it's going to give you all those options. You're going to enter in the task name and then just fill out all this information here. So you're going to set the due date for it. You're going to say that this specific task is going to be due a certain number of days before or after one of these critical dates. So you kind of go through each individual one and set it up just as you need. And then save your changes. Oh, I didn't give it a label. There we go. So from here, you can move on to the next step, and the next step is the important contacts. This is going to be for things like the vendors. So from here, you're going to create a field for each type of vendor. We're not selecting the actual vendor yet, we're just creating a field for the vendor. So you'll notice that we do give you a list of vendors here. Of course, just like the other pages, you have an edit button, a delete button, and you can even change the order with one of these arrows. If we were to click edit, you can change the name here of what that label is going to be. But what you want to do is you want to tell the system where it's going to pull this important contact from. So the vendor needs to be in your database. They need to be in your database either on your contact list or on your vendor list. So when you're selecting to add a field for a vendor, such as this one here, mortgage company, then you're going to want to say that I want it to pull from either my client list or my vendor list, but I want it to pull from a very specific category on that list. All right, so then that also means that you're going to want to be consistent with where you're entering in these contacts. So, for example, we have this is a label for our mortgage company. We want to make sure that all the companies that we use for this are all on our vendor list, and they're all coming from this specific category, because this is the template itself. So it's always going to look in this specific category on this list, and then you can save your changes. Same thing goes if you're adding a new one. You'll enter in a label. You'll select if it's coming or pulling from your client or your vendor list, and then what category on that list. I'm sorry, did somebody say something? Okay, so then we'll go ahead and we'll just move on. So I'm going to back up out of here. And then after that, you're done. You're done creating your template. So now you can create an actual transaction. You're going to want to create a template for each type of transaction that you're going to have. So like I was saying before, you'll have one buyer, perhaps one seller, and then if you work with any other types of transactions, then you might have one for those. So in order to create an actual checklist, now that we have a template, we can click on the Transactions button at the top, and we can go to Add Checklist. So from this page, all we would do is we would select the template that we want to use from a list of the ones that we have created, and then you're going to search in the system down here for your client. So this is going to be someone who's already in your database. If the client is not in your database, then you can fill out this information over here, check this box, and then enter in the name. And then down here, you're not going to really worry about this unless you're working with another company who's also working on the same transaction as you. So a Fusion join code is something that we'll go over here in just a moment. So I'm going to click Continue now that I've selected my template as well as my client. And now I need to select my property. So if the property is already entered in on my property list, which is located up over here under the Properties dropdown, then I can select it from a list here. Or if I'm entering the property in brand new, you can check this box here and then fill out the information. We'll go ahead and click Continue here. And now if you're working on a team of people, the system will also give you the option to assign the entire checklist to one of your team members, or you can just leave it set to all. So we'll go ahead and click Continue, and it's going to refresh to our checklist summary. So this is a checklist summary now for, you'll see buyer, and then buyer template 2, and then it lists the property address that it's linked to next to that. So we actually default the name of the template, but you can change it. We default the name of the checklist to the name of the template with the property address. However, you can change this. This is an editable field. You're going to have the client's information listed here, and then you have some other buttons down here if you need to change or edit that information. And then you're going to have the property listed right below that, and again, you do have some other buttons here to make some changes. And then if I scroll down, you'll notice that I have my different sections. So we have our critical dates section. Our most important dates are here. Then we have our important fields listed below, all of our tasks, And then if I continue scrolling down, we have that section for our important contacts. And then we have another section for any files that we wish to attach to the to the checklist, and you do have unlimited document storage. Now we also integrate with DocuSign, so if anyone happens to have a DocuSign account, then you can link it up here. So if you wanted to send and receive those electronic signatures through the system and have it still be attached to the checklist, you can do that. So you can either upload a file and then click on the DocuSign button. You'll log into your DocuSign account. You can select to push or pull that file into DocuSign and then send it off to your client. Once they sign it, it'll come back to DocuSign, and then you can reattach that envelope to this specific transaction. And then down below here, you have a section for your transaction notes. So this is going to be anything that you either add manually, or anytime that there's been an update to the actual checklist itself, it will get recorded in the transaction notes section. Also, if you send an email out to any party involved on this transaction right here, that will be recorded in the transaction notes section as well. So I'm just going to scroll back up here. I want to show you what a transaction looks, one of them looks like, a little bit more filled out. So I'm going to come to our list of active transactions that we have, so our checklist page. And I'm just going to click on this one that we've already been working on. And then from here, you'll notice if I scroll down, we've already got some dates listed in here. So now that we have some dates, you'll notice that down here, some of the due dates have begun to calculate when they're going to be due for these specific tasks. So because we've already set that up at the template level. So when you check off a task here, you'll notice that it date stamps it on the right, so you'll have a record as to when it was completed. If you find that you set the system to calculate a specific task to fall a certain number of days before or after one of those critical dates, however you find that you have a concrete date set in stone, you can manually edit this here. So you can click on this and say that this specific task is actually going to be due on a very specific day. And then once you save your changes, you'll notice that that date is going to turn green. So we'll show you. So now the date is in green. That just indicates that we've actually manually entered in a date as opposed to these red ones, which were auto-calculated based on what we had set in the template. And if you need to make any changes from this page as well, you can. You'll notice next to each section here, you have an edit button over here on the right. Now, if I were to click edit here, it's actually going to take me to that same page that we were on before when we were editing the template. So any changes here are actually going to edit the actual template itself. All right. Does anyone happen to have any questions for me at this time? If not, then we'll go ahead and I'll move on a little bit more. We've got some other things that I kind of wanted to show you. So once you have an active transaction, we also make it easy for you to keep the client involved as to what it is that's going on. So here in the Actions drop-down, you can print a summary, you can email a summary, or you can create a custom summary to send out to your client or any party involved. However, we also have this Fusion web page, and this is pretty neat because this is actually a private web page that you can send a link to any party involved, and they can log in or they can go to that link and they can view the actual checklist itself. So everything that you have set up, and it will stay up to date in real time as to what it is that's going on. So from here, the first step into creating a Fusion web page would be to set up a web template. And a web template is basically going to be your branding on that page. Once you select and create your web template, you'll click Save, and then you're going to have some other options. And then this whole piece down here will kind of pop into the picture after you save your web page. And then what you'll do is you'll choose a button text. A button text is basically who you are. What's your role in this transaction? So you can kind of scroll through here and you can select one of these options. You'll notice that we selected the Realtor here. And then from here, once you save your changes, you're going to get another set of options. These buttons up here will actually become active. You can edit permissions, and basically what that means is that you can decide what is visible and what is not visible to your client. So you'll notice that we have all the different fields here from the actual checklist, and you get to select if you want it to be visible or not just by checking that box. You can even choose if you want the important contacts visible. You can select if you have any documents uploaded, which ones you want to make available to them, and you can even choose to have the contact notes visible to them as well. Once you make your changes here, you can actually take a look at what the page is going to look like. So I'm going to click on this View Web Page button, and then we're going to get a CAPTCHA that comes up here. So we're just going to enter in the CAPTCHA, and then it's going to take us to the actual checklist. So here you have several tabs. Right now we're on this Home tab, and this is basically just showing updates. So whenever there's been an update, it'll kind of record it and date stamp it, and then you'll see here that we have our branding for the page selected. Scrolling back up to the top, we do have these other buttons. This was the button that we had chosen, so this is basically the checklist that we created. So you'll notice that it's a little bit of a shortened version because we chose not to make everything visible to the client. But you can see that it's literally just a summary of the checklist. And like I said, it will stay up to date in real time as to what it is that's going on whenever you completed something, anything like that. Now, we do have some other buttons here that I want to let you know about. So we have a lender button and an escrow officer button. So for this specific transaction, if you are working with a lender or an escrow officer who has a Wise Agent account and they're working on this specific transaction with you, they're going to have a completely different set of tasks and things that they need to complete. So they're going to create their own checklist. When they do that, they can link it up to yours. So in the beginning, when we first created that the checklist, you had a Fusion join code. That's where you would enter the join code so that you could link up your checklist with another Wise Agent checklist so that the client can view all of the information from all sides in regards as to what's being done. So now if I click on this, I can see where the lender is at in the process of my transaction. And then same for this button over here. So that's kind of neat. They can stay up to date in real time. Now, you can always send an update to your client letting them know that you have made an update or a change, but like I said, it does stay up to date in real time as to what it is that's actually going on in the checklist itself. So that's pretty much going to be it for the actual transactions themselves. So if you guys have any questions, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions right now.
Allie, that was really great. This is Teddy. Do you have videos of these as well?
You know, we do have a transaction video. Over here under your welcome drop-down on the Help Center page, we have a video that goes over just transaction management. It's going to be right here, and it's pretty short, so you guys can always reference back to this. And then also we are 24/7, so if you have any questions or need any help, we're in the office Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are located in Arizona, but anytime outside of that, we do have an on-call rep. So if you click on this Contact Us button, they will be paged and ready to assist you and answer your questions.
All right, one more question if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on some of these tasks, there's some subtasks to do. For example, if you're getting a buyer agreement signed, part of getting the buyer agreement signed is forwarding it to your broker to sign and then sending it back to your client. Are there subtasks available for these?
No. The way that we have it set up is that you can do a subheading. So if you wanted to break the tasks up into sections, you could do that and then just put those specific things underneath that. So I know that specifically for, let's say, a seller template, you can break it up into sections. So we have things that happen under listing and then things that happen under contract. So you could choose to break it up that way and just have like a couple tasks listed there. But other than that, it you would just list them and then put them in the order that you want. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, it answers in terms of
Okay.
capability. Doesn't easier, but it answers. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Any other questions I can answer for you guys? So let me just show you a couple other things since we don't have any questions at this moment. On the home page, we're going to come back over here. When you first log in, this is going to be your home page. You'll notice that on the calendar, you have the option of having your critical dates for those transactions appear on the calendar. Those critical dates will always appear in red with a check mark icon. So you'll notice that here on March 31st, April 12th, as well as the 20th, we do have critical dates for certain transactions. So these will pull here, so you can actually see that you have these critical dates. And then if you wanted to access the checklist from there, you could easily do that just by clicking on it. Down here, below the calendar, is the task list. All the tasks from those checklists can pull here, so that you can see that you have a specific task that needs to be completed, and then you'll have the checklist name next to it so you know what checklist it's coming from. Now, when you check a task off here, it actually checks off or date stamps the checklist itself, so you don't have to worry about going over there and entering in a date as to when it was done. It'll strike it out so you'll visibly be able to see that it's been completed, and then we do color coordinate them, so you can actually visibly see, if you have a past due versus one that's due today, and then a future task, because they'll be in these three different colors. So this lighter one, pink-ish red color, indicates that it's past due, green is for today, and then yellow is going to be any future ones. And then down here on the home page, you actually have a hot list. Your transaction hot list is going to be a list of your active transactions and pending sales, and you could easily access those transactions just by clicking on the name of it, and it will just direct you to the checklist itself. So those are going to be some ways that you can kind of see what it is that's going on with different transactions in the system from the home page directly when you log into your account. And then we'll just keep it open for questions. If you guys have any questions, then go ahead and let me know. Nobody has any questions? Did everybody understand or how everything kind of goes? So everything starts with a template. You'll have to create the template. Edit the template, so make it just as you need, all the fields that you need, calculate the dates as you need them to be, and then from there you can add a checklist after you created your templates, and then you'll have one template for each type of transaction, and then every time you have a checklist, you'll just use that specific template to create a checklist where you link the property with the client.
It does. It looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and a lot of agents love the fact that our transaction management portal has everything listed on a single page. So you're really not clicking around to multiple pages to view the information for that specific transaction. Everything's just all on one specific page. You can easily, visibly see what's going on. So yeah, if you guys ever need any assistance while you're setting these up yourself, whether it be starting off with a template or when you've completed that and created a transaction, you guys can just let us know. So if there's no more questions, then we can go ahead and we can we can just end the session then today. Liz, are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Allie. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I do believe that since I recorded it, I think it might shoot you a link. If not, then I'll make sure to get that link out to you so that you guys can refer back to this, even share it with anybody who wasn't able to make it today.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, then we'll go ahead and close up the session today. Let us know if you need anything, you guys, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Allie.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Bye.